The Steam Machine, the Gaben Cube, Cubicus Gabenicus. I have absolutely no idea what this thing is honestly called, but I am very interested in your opinion about this because, well, no one really knows what exactly is currently happening or how it's gonna happen, but everyone has an opinion. And I am a yapper at the end of the day. Full disclosure, I will literally never own whatever that thing is called. It looks cool, honestly, and I do trust Valve to make this. But I literally just spent 2.5k on a brand new PC, which is actually extremely good parts for running games and, rendering videos and stuff. So I'm probably set for the next 5 to 7 years if I don't spill coffee on it like I did with my last computer. Yeah, that happened. In any case, I think I'm gonna be fine. Currently, I am hearing a lot of people say some negative things about it. It's not necessarily too negative, but a lot of people don't have the greatest opinion of it. But at the same time, as far as I can tell, the people who don't have the greatest opinion of it are Linus Tech Tier levels of this, aka hardware elitists. They literally will just want the best things, the most whatever things. So I don't actually trust these people's opinions. Okay, listen, I unironically think computers run on black magic. There's no way you're gonna convince me that us humans made something that's 0.1 nanomillimeters across and we put a billion of them in a thing and it just does stuff, okay? You're never convincing me of that. I'm just gonna be real with you for a moment. I think this is bullshit. But I am smart enough to know that Valve as a company has things called the Steam Deck and other stuff. Valve actually probably has the ability, like Nvidia, to monitor what you use in games. They probably have agreements with companies to let them know the settings and stuff that they use, machine aspects, and all of that stuff. So when Valve decides to not pump in the most expensive parts into their Steam thingies, game boxes, I kind of trust them to do the right choice because Valve probably is making these decisions from years of experience and actually knowing what people's average specs are and what kind of games people averagely play on. We already know that one of the most prevalent opinions on the internet when it comes to game is completely fucking false. And that, of course, is the fact that players demand high-end graphics. From Nvidia, literally hundreds of millions examples, if you allowed Nvidia to collect data from your device, have proven that 70+% of players choose higher FPS over high graphics. 70 plus. Okay? Choose higher FPS over high graphics. So, that's already something to think about.
The GabeCube is real. A decade in the making, Valve have finally revealed the long-anticipated Steam machines. Of course, this is not the first time they've tried to do Steam machines, but what it is the most serious one. It's a culmination of work on the Steam Deck, the Steam OS platform, and even the Steam Store. And that means that once more, Valve are coming for your living room. But I think this time...
And by the way, this is a great opportunity to actually do it because Xbox has killed itself. PlayStation is garbage. Nintendo is expensive slop. And I think there's something else, but who honestly cares at this point? Like, there is no better time to strike than this.
They're set up to be a hell of a lot more successful. They'll be doing it the same way that they took over PC gaming in the first place, and if rumors are to be believed, that really is a true statement, because apparently they'll be launching a new Half-Life game in this thing.
Okay, listen. I have heard about the Half-Life thing, but I'm not gonna lie. The Steam box is gonna be an amazing sell. In any case, if the Steam box doesn't even have AI in it, that's already gonna be a massive win. Like, think about it. Do you want to use some kind of AI slop driven Windows version of your stuff? No, you don't. No, you don't. Google constantly is shoving AI in your face. Do you use it? The answer is probably no. Windows looks completely unusable with every iteration of it that they do. Again, if you did not know, the reason why Windows, was it 10, was it 12? One of them. The super bad one that everyone hated until Windows 11 became almost barely usable because they allowed you at least to switch back to the old functionalities from like things like XP and whatnot. That Windows, the one that was not usable, was made by a DEI ESG hire. I'm not joking. You can Google this. This is Googleable, and there's no way to deny this. It was made by a DEI hire that had never used a computer in their lives. And they designed the UI for the whole thing. They had never used a computer in their entire lives, and they were allowed to design a system, and then Microsoft fought tooth and nail to make people believe that it's actually good. This is the level of crazy that we're honestly talking about here when it comes to this stuff.
I don't know if that much is true, but these are wild times. This will shake up the industry, and to Gabe, I suppose, happy sailing. You may not know this, but Steam machines actually already existed. They failed 10 years ago. Basically, a dozen different versions were announced in 2015, alongside a controller, the Steam Link, and the Vive headset. And by 2015, they were hailed as the future of gaming. Basically, a living room PC that Valve would build alongside companies with experience like Alienware. They actually had an early version of SteamOS, which brought Linux to the masses. They had this fancy new controller with trackpads to replace the keyboard and mouse, but it was honestly a disaster. The bespoke Linux operating system caused, quote, 21 to 58% frame drops. That's pretty bad, and that was happening in the very few games that actually supported it. One of the core reasons why they decided to do Steam machines back then was the unmitigated disaster that was Windows 8. It truly looked like the...
yeah, Windows 8. I think it was Windows 8. This is the story of Windows 8, what I was saying.
Desktop PC format was going in a bad direction. So because of that, Steam machines were going to be a thing. But obviously by the time they came out, Windows 10 was a thing, and Windows 10 was not as bad as Windows 8.
Windows 10 was still ass.
So the average consumer felt less pressure to shift over. Then there's the controller. It was...
Listen, boys, let's be real. I don't know anything about PCs, but if I had the ability to use Windows XP, I'd still be using it.
Divisive. I have a soft spot for it personally. I was actually playing World of Warcraft on the damn thing, but it was divisive. Then there's the Steam Link. It was a $30 home streaming device. Pretty cool little thing. You could basically play games in your living room without needing a whole new PC because it would just stream from your PC. And if we're to take that all in, what we see is a real ambitious set of hardware, just not really that well positioned in the market. As an example, the game business now estimates that fewer than 400,000 Steam machines sold in total. Soon, hardware partners abandoned the...
Nowadays, for the woke audience, that is a major success, by the way. Not even joking.
Project. There were per sales, per partnerships with Valve, and a lack of interest, and that led to Valve retreating from everything but VR. Obviously now, 10 years have passed, and things are very different indeed. And I'll add to that, even down to Windows massively pissing everyone off. I don't know if you've seen the recent Windows 11 headlines, they're not good, and obviously for Valve, that is amazing. Let's talk about the new hardware. We're really seeing history repeat, where we get a new controller, a new VR headset, and the Steam machines. These were all announced at once, and they're going to be shipping in early 2026. Now, the controller essentially builds on the Steam Deck, and then some of the things that they've learned from their VR headsets, where I can certainly say the haptics were absolutely god tier. So, it polishes the design, it adds in some new features, we've got magnetic drift resistant sticks, better gyro support, and then there's this...
Magnetic drift resist? What the... What? See, this is why I don't have a console, this is why magnetic resistant Steam is... What?
Steam Frame. It's adding more remote streaming with optimized eye tracking. That's all in a way that should be fairly amazing for performance. I don't want to undersell how cool the eye tracking rendering stuff is, but what it also does is huge. It brings ARM support to SteamOS. That is absolutely vital. I do say that as someone with a laptop that is running an ARM chipset. And the thing that we're basically seeing with like Apple Silicon is absurd performance for the heat and for the wattage. That of course makes it fantastic for a headset, but it does also have me thinking, well, Steam
I discard anyone's opinion who has an Apple product. It's overpriced garbage.
OS supports ARM. There are many laptops out there that also support ARM, so this could end up being fairly large for Steam. But obviously the thing we really need to talk about is the Steam machines.
Well, to be fair, Apple does have good user experiences, so I guess that's kind of what matters for a lot of people. But if you're buying Apple because, oh, it's the best, it's not the best. It's just that the best at being way too expensive.
Those have set the internet alight, calling it the Gabe Cube, an amazing name. And it is really Steam coming for the living room. Now, the device itself is a black 6-inch cube PC with a removable faceplate and a customizable light bar. Now, when we look at the breakdowns, you can actually see that it is 75% cooling unit by volume. Almost in a way, it's like a Mac Studio, but for...
Doesn't that make sense, actually? Again, not a technology guy, but even I know that currently a lot of progress and innovation for a lot of technologies is actually hindered by the fact that we cannot get cooling smaller.
Gaming, something like that. It's a gorgeous piece of hardware, and we've even seen it have a e-ink front display. That's something that Valve had whenever they were building it, but I've got to imagine that when this is a real device that we can all go and buy, that we'll probably see strong aftermarket support for things like that. Now, of course, in theory, you can build a competitor to this thing right now. You can just go and build a mini ITX PC. You may be wondering then, what is the big deal with this? Well, I'll lay it out. This is a mini PC that is running SteamOS, just like the Steam Deck. Now that's the same SteamOS that this year was shown to run games better than Windows. But the difference is that this is on a machine that is, according to Valve, 6 times more powerful than a Steam Deck. And to quote one of their engineers who was talking about the performance targets, our benchmark has always been that it should have enough performance to play every game on Steam at 4K 60 when you do some sort of upscaling.
Now that is a good sell.
Like FSR. That does sound...
I think a lot of people are like me. That a lot of people literally don't actually care what kind of GX40 Bonanza RTX 490 terabyte hexabyte thingamajig you have in your PC, as long as it just runs shit. Okay? I don't care for the fancy 3-letter combination of bullshit with a 4000 in front of it. I care about the fact that it has all, actually runs stuff, okay? That's the selling point for me.
Ambitious. That being said, I think the phrase some sort of upscaling is certainly going to be doing a lot of work for some games there, but that does get us onto something else, and that is price point. This is where things are going to be extremely challenging.
This is actually going to be a big talking point, because it's probably not going to be 500 euros USD or whatever price you want the equivalent of. If it was, if this thing was 500 buckaroonies, I think it would instantaneously just completely evaporate Xbox, Nintendo, and all of these garbage companies out of existence in literally like a 5-year period. I really think. But it's not going to be 500. But the thing about this, I have been actually thinking about it, okay? And if this thing is 1K, people are not going to be happy. But when the next generation of consoles hits, people are going to start buying this. Because I have looked at it, and there's no way the next generation of consoles is cheaper than $1,500 at this point. There is no world where that happens. It's not. It's gonna be expensive. Like, if they push their prices down to 1,000, I would honestly consider that a miracle. But currently, it looks like 1,500 is actually kind of where it may land. Now, obviously, they probably themselves don't want 1,500 because that's ridiculous. But I definitely think it's gonna be like 1.2K or something like that minimum. There's no way it's not, right? Stupid camera. Steam needs to sell an actual good camera because I'm tired of Logitech bullshit.
We don't know what the price is. A lot of people are hoping about 400 USD. If it was that, it would be truly disruptive, but there are many roadblocks to a price like that. First off, there's the fairly obvious with tariffs, because look, the situation there could actually change over time. That's likely one of the reasons why Valve doesn't want to commit to pricing here. But another one is what we're seeing go on with RAM. Basically, the RAM markets are getting really crazy, prices are absolutely spiking, and the risk for Valve would be that they could commit to a price right now, but actually find that when it comes time to do their real massive volume production runs, maybe the price of some of that RAM.
And there is a counterpoint to this. Okay? Loss leaders. Probably some of you have already heard of this statement, but it's essentially the idea that you are selling stuff that you actually don't care to make a profit on. You actually know that you're probably going to lose money, but that stuff is going to lead to people buying more things from you, aka boosting the sales of literally everything else. And considering how much Valve actually is looking constantly into the future, not in instantaneous gratification and making money, I don't really think they're gonna do a loss leader tactic here, but I mean, I'm not gonna throw it out. Valve could actually say, you know what? I have one $500 million yacht. I don't need a second one this year. Let's just do this for 500 buccarinos. Let's lose some money and I'll buy the second yacht next year. By the way, I fully believe Gabe deserves at this point like 2, 5, 7, or 20 yachts if he wants to, okay?
Will have went up. So that's probably one of the reasons why we're not seeing pricing, because basically those supply chains are a little bit of a nightmare for everyone involved now. Though we need to remember that it's not releasing in a vacuum, it's going under your TV, ideally, right? It'll be running games at 4K, so it's basically just competing with like the PS5, maybe the PS5 Pro, certainly probably not against the Pro in terms of raw horsepower, to be very clear, and the Xbox. Those things have all had price hikes, which does mean that they probably won't even have to go super low in the price. Even if they were matching the price of some of their competitors, there would be a number of very compelling reasons to go with Valve over one of the consoles. Just in terms of like aesthetics and ergonomics, I mean, it's got an internal power supply. There's no
Again, Valve just needs to actually buy a, buy an Xbox, buy a PlayStation, and see how bad the experience is, and then literally just market the Steam box that it doesn't have these negative things that the other consoles have. Okay, no AI, no here's a newsletter from us, read what's new, blah 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 blah. Like, if most people are probably gonna switch to a Steam box over over fucking Xbox, just if they know that they don't have to pay like a monthly subscription for it, okay? Let's be real.
Laptop style power brick, it will just pop in there very sleekly and play the majority of games just like a PS5 or an Xbox. Just that now, unlike 10 years ago with the old wave of Steam machines, loads of once exclusives are now just actually on PC. So it's not even like it's got to face that hurdle as much. So games-wise, it'll run literally everything in your library that is currently Steam Deck compatible. And of course, that's really the big thing here. Valve have been working on this device for ages, and with the Steam Deck, they've already laid the groundwork for it. Because Valve did actually spend those 10 years from the first wave of Steam machines to these pretty much fixing everything that went wrong last time. They're clearly not making the same mistakes again, and that all starts with SteamOS. That's because on a firmware level, SteamOS has just gone from strength to strength. There is a reason why Valve's marketing is highlighting using the Steam machine as just a regular PC as well. SteamOS is honestly awesome. But in gaming terms, the Proton compatibility layer is what really matters here, because it just runs window games. Your games will just work. And I know, pulling a Todd Howard and saying, it just works, is a little bit silly sometimes. But this is one of those rare cases where Proton really is that good. And in some cases, the games may even run better than they would in similar bits of Windows hardware. We've actually seen that proven on the Lenovo Legion Go S. Basically, that's a handheld that is available in both a Windows and a SteamOS version, and the SteamOS version basically tends to run things a bit better, so you get a few more frames. Now, whenever these Steam machines come out, you may have to wait a little bit to see a verified for Steam machine badge in games. That's just because developers will have to do a bit of work, right? A bit of optimization. But what is good here is the devs are not compiling a build natively for SteamOS, right? There's a lot of very dev-friendly things here. So you should expect generally better performance, but I'd also imagine that this will go particularly hard for what it is. Basically, it's a fairly...
Okay, I'm sorry, am I the only one who's noticing a lot of these, reels from this stuff, and it's like it's all just black women? I'm sorry, but black women don't even use PCs, okay? It is what it is. They barely use PCs, let alone game. Okay? Let's be completely real. Doesn't get a lot more simple than that. All these diversity-focused ads are just silly.
Particularly hard for what it is. Basically, it's a fairly clear hardware target, it's one that's fairly well marketed, and for any game developer, it's also extremely marketable to be able to say, hey, this runs amazing on a Steam machine. So you'll probably get benefits out of the gate, but things could get even better when we start seeing verified for Steam machine badges appear all over.
Consoles are in Doom, I disagree. If this thing launches good, it's gonna destroy them. Again, consoles are already destroying themselves very, very nicely, so it is with this genuine excitement. Okay, close enough. Anyway, Bellier, that was Bellier, 10 out of 10. Bye.